are people who are willing to suffer day and night. They don't care about their mental health as long as they have money in the bank. I, for one, can tell you I've been in a job where I know God had not sent me to that job. I know I was not supposed to be there, but out of not fully trusting, out of I just want to ensure that I have something going for myself right now, I'm just gonna do it anyways, and how it ends up is not always great. How are you guys doing? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Miriro and this is of course Miriro Moments. I really do hope you decide to join the Leave Earth Empty team by subscribing, pressing that red button that says subscribe down below so that it turns gray, so that you join the team. We are almost at 2,000 subscribers, you guys. That is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed. I really do appreciate it. It means something for the growth of the channel, the engagement and everything. I really do appreciate all the support. And if you have not, please do the right thing. Also switch on the notification bell so that you get notifications whenever I post a new video. So towards the end of last year, I did a moving back to Zimbabwe Q&A on my Instagram and WhatsApp, and I did a YouTube video on it, which I think currently has the most views on my channel. Thank you, amazing. So in that Q&A, a lot of the questions were related to trying to get a job, building a career in Zimbabwe, how the employment environment is like currently. And because the questions were so many, I remember giving my word that I would film a video that is specifically related to that. So first, before I get into the crux of this video, I think it's just important for me to mention that I'm not an expert. I am literally just sharing my own experiences. I am not a recruitment person, HR person who is sharing about employment and trying to look for a job. This is literally just me sharing my experience. So you also need to understand that so that hopefully you take what you believe could be helpful to you. But if there's anything that you feel like, this does not make sense, then feel free to not do so. And because I know that this video is going to be fairly long, I've put in timestamps and I have divided this video into 3 parts. So the first part of this video, I really just want to share about my journey, my employment journey. The second part of this video will be about the current employment environment in Zimbabwe and what I have sort of observed and learned from it. And the third part of it would be tips and advice in getting a job, building your career in Zimbabwe. So if you are not interested in any one of those segments, just feel free to follow the timestamps and you will be able to sort of get to the segment that you're mostly interested in. But if you are a real one and you want to watch the full video, make sure you have a nice, I even have some coffee here, although it's finished now, a nice cup of coffee or a beverage of your choice so that you also ensure that you are well quenched as you're watching this video. So let's get right into it. The University of Witwatersrand in South Africa, and there I attained my BA Law degree where I majored in Law and International Relations, and then I went on to study my Bachelor of Laws or LLB or my law degree, and I attained both qualifications from there. So thereafter, I think towards the end of my degree, I was just sort of trying to think of what I'm actually going to do in the coming year. I had different considerations. At some point I thought maybe I'm going to go and do my master's right away, but what was really important to me was I wanted to get a scholarship or be able to fund for my degree by myself. And both options sort of didn't work out for me, although I had an internship offer that I could have done, not related to law, completely different, but I could have taken that up. So I sort of didn't know whether I'm going to stay in South Africa or I'm going to move back home. And I remember just literally being in loggerheads with myself, and I just got into a time of prayer and asking God what he really just wants out of my life. So I then decided to move back home. When I got back here, I think I got here mid-December of 2020. Mid-December. In December, honestly, I had a lot that I had to do. So really looking for a job was not in my mind. I did not do that. So fast forward to January, that's when I was thinking, okay, I need to come up with a plan. What am I actually going to be doing with my life now? And I was pretty active on LinkedIn. I was sort of just sharing my journey, leadership ventures in university. If I had a job, I was sort of just sharing that. And luckily enough, I don't even want to say if it's luck, but it was just literally God. There was a law firm that actually reached out to me with an advertisement about how they were recruiting legal interns at the time. But this law firm was based in Arizona, Phoenix, United States of America. And I remember looking at this and I'm like, do you know where I am? I am currently in Zimbabwe. Are you sure you want someone who's in Zimbabwe? And they said, you know what, just apply, you never know. And that's exactly what I did. I applied for the position and the process was fairly long. I remember, I think I had 2 or 3 interviews. Yes. So at some point during these interviews, I was like, God, is this really, do you really want me to do this? Like when I made it like the first time, second round, third round, I felt like I really just experienced imposter syndrome because I was like, what do they want with a girl from Zimbabwe? Like, really? But as God would have had it, I actually got the opportunity and I started working there as a legal intern. I only found out that this was an unpaid internship after I had gone through all the rounds of the interviews, submitted all the stuff that they wanted, and then they're like, actually, this is going to be unpaid. And at the time, I was like, that's perfectly fine. I need the experience, so I'm going to do it. So this was a virtual position. It was not in the same country, different time zones, which meant that most of my work, the official work hours, were actually my 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. So that was quite interesting because it was the very first time that I had sort of had to work in a different time zone while living in a different time zone. And I stayed there for about 4 or 5 months. Yeah, 4 or 5 months, around about that time. And to be very honest, I genuinely believe that that post, that experience was literally just God, because I learned so much. I remember I genuinely enjoyed working with the people that I was working with. I remember learning about just different systems, how they went about life. I learned about the USA intellectual property system and stuff like that, of which that's an area that I'm very much interested in. But I was now thinking, I now want to start applying to maybe do my conversion exams. I want to start, just sort of getting my future in check. So I was thinking, I am doing this internship, but it's unpaid. Who's going to pay for conversions if I'm to apply and I get approved and stuff like that? I just really value financial independence and being able to sort of fund for my own lifestyle, do the things that I would really desire to do. I just feel like my parents have been responsible for me for so long, and once you do attain your degree, you don't want to constantly still be needing them. And I was in a position where I wasn't making any money at the time. Obviously, I would have a side hustle here and there, I would do this and that, but it wasn't enough. And especially with the amounts that were being spoken of in terms of conversions, I was just like, I think I need to start looking for other opportunities. So I then submitted my resignation from the internship, and I applied to a digital outsourcing agency. Big mistake. I didn't do enough research into the job. And when I then got there, first few weeks, it was great, it was fine. But then I then realized that there was something that was a bit off, in the sense that the job in itself involved lying. At some point they asked me to change my name so that I would be able to relate with some of the clients that were based in the UK, so stuff like that. And my interest started dwindling away. But not only that, I just felt like I was compromising my integrity in that job, and I became very unhappy, to be honest. It was just really bad. I would get to work and I would literally just be like this, and I'm doing everything slowly, and it was just that. And the funny thing is, I was surrounded by people who were genuinely fine with all of this. So without getting into too much detail about what that was, it just didn't feel right to me. And I remember I started praying about it. I actually fasted for about a week. And literally the day I finished my fast, one of the supervisors sat me down. And they're like, you know what, we realize that you are not really in the right, mindset. You are just not very enthusiastic. What's going on? And he was just like, okay, so we have reached the decision that we actually want to retrench you. And I remember looking at him and I'm like, wow, God, like, that is a quick answer. And I remember getting home and it was just like, it was almost like relief, because they made a decision that I was too afraid to make, because to a certain extent I was feeling as though I didn't really have a backup plan, and I wasn't trusting God enough in that situation, to be very honest. So I think about a week after that, I was like, okay, God, what's the plan? What am I going to be doing? And luckily enough, one of my colleagues actually shared something, a job opportunity that was at a pediatric and dental surgery. And I remember thinking, oh, okay, this is interesting, but in the long run, how are we looking? And at the time, my priority was, I want to raise money, I want to make money, and then I hopefully will be able to do my exams, and then I will look into officially starting to build my career and everything. Of which now the conversions thing, that's another subject that needs an entire video on its own, but I think that will probably be towards the end of this year, because the story is definitely not finished. She shared this opening. It was a temporary position. They only needed somebody for about 3-4 months, which worked for me perfectly. So I applied for it and I actually got it. It was an administrative position, and to be honest, it was a high pressure job. Like, I have worked many jobs. I am that person who sort of has a lot going on in terms of the things that I'll be involved in. And I honestly felt like that job stretched me. I learned a lot about the job, but I also learned a lot about myself, what I can handle, what I cannot handle. It was a high pressure job, guys. When you explain that actually it was an admin job, but it was high pressure. People cannot really fathom what that looks like, but people who would know what it involved, like, you just really had to be on top of your things. It involved multitasking. You just had to be on top of everything. And I think I grew a lot. So when I look back, I'm actually very grateful for that position. Although at the time I was like, Lord, okay, this is interesting. What is this? Towards the end of the 3 months, I had to do my eye surgery. And because my contract was ending, and because the recovery time was much longer than I expected, because it was about 6 weeks, they're like, you know what, there's no point in retaining you because you need time off for a while. And I remember trying to go back after like 2 weeks after my surgery, and I was still in pain. So I resigned from that job because my contract was about to end, but I also had to recover from surgery. So it couldn't just be like I'm taking sick days or something. It literally just had to be like, okay, this is the end of my journey with this institution. We have to go. So I recovered from surgery afterwards, and I was fine. Afterwards, I didn't really apply to a lot of firms. So I think during the time where I was at the digital outsourcing agency, when I started applying to law firms as well. I think I applied to just about 3. I didn't apply to many. And I only got a call like 4 months later from one of the firms, and the other firms didn't even respond at all. And I remember actually meeting somebody who worked at one of the firms that I had applied to, and I hadn't received any response. And they're like, you also need to understand that these are COVID times. People were on lockdown at some point. There was just a lot that was going on. And at the time, they were actually letting go of people. So to now bring on somebody else was just going to be irrational on their part. So they weren't taking people. So when this year started, I then decided I want to start volunteering in different organizations that are going to contribute to the kind of work that I foresee myself doing in the long term, because it always helps to prepare yourself. And if you ever foresee yourself doing something, even if it's on your own, you sort of need that experience, you sort of need that practice. And I think about a week ago, that's when I started officially applying for other opportunities and jobs. Yes, so that's been my journey thus far. I'm now at a place where I have been volunteering, I've been serving my family, I've also been working on launching a business, and just literally not being idle. I think that's so important to not find yourself at a place where you're just idle. And I'm so thankful that I have not, even a single day, I have not felt like, oh my goodness, I don't have anything to do. Every day I wake up with so much to do, and sometimes I'm so exhausted, I'm like, it doesn't even feel like I'm not working a 9 to 5, because there is so much that is currently going on, and I've had to really be present in different facets of my life. So I haven't felt it as much, and it's been to the extent that at times I felt like I don't really have enough time to be doing the applications and stuff. Now moving on to the current employment situation in Zim. I think a lot of people are well aware that there's a very high unemployment rate currently in Zim, but I don't want that to discourage anyone. Because if you really do look, you will find that there are so many different jobs, but it also just depends on your outlook, right? But I've also found that it's easier when you have a strong network and you also are well connected, because that is very common in Zim. Someone even said to me, sometimes it's not about what's on the CV, sometimes it's about who's got the CV in their hands when they enter a certain institution. And that was so interesting to me, because it's like, if I am qualified, I should get an equal opportunity as anybody else. But the truth of the matter, guys, a lot of people get different opportunities depending on who they know. I always want to ensure that people understand that every person's situation is not going to be the same. So it's very difficult to get jobs. And also the people who are in the jobs, due to the economic situation, most people are unhappy. And also employers feel entitled, and employers know that there is a very high unemployment rate, so they know that they can exploit and abuse their employees, because employees are dependent on the jobs that they do have. So the people who are in jobs, they're trying to hang on tight to those opportunities so that, you know, somebody else does not take up the opportunity. Because most times in the jobs, people are treated as though they're disposable, to be honest. It's like, you know what, you don't want to do this, you don't want to work outside work hours? Yeah, sure, but there will be somebody who is going to be willing to work outside the work hours, which means that labor laws are not always observed in a lot of work environments. But another thing that I've realized is, and it really does break my heart, because I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and they were telling me about their cousin who is an accountant. Apparently, he also holds a master's degree in accounting. He is a money changer at Zimex Mall currently. That's his job, because he realized that his official job as an accountant was not giving him enough money, and he's now hustling there, and he's literally making more money than he would have. So for a lot of people, they're affected by the economic situation because their jobs are actually not giving them a lot of money, and that means that they are not able to sustain their families. And with the prices of things, guys, the fuel prices are hiking up, food prices in stores, you know, these are all things that are genuine concerns that people have, and they need to make a livelihood, right? But the amount that they're making in their jobs is not enough. So you will find that a lot of Zimbabweans have to depend on another source of income. You need to have multiple sources of income, because you then realize that this one job, kuraf, it will not be able to really sustain you. But there are exceptions, and there are opportunities. And sometimes the opportunities don't always look like you having a 9 to 5 job, which is what I really need to stress. So thus far, that's been my observation. There are high unemployment rates, but that does not mean that the jobs are not there. And the people who do get the jobs, not always through legitimate processes and the job interviews and everything. It's really just more, okay, we know this person, we're going to offer them this job. Now moving on to the different tips and advice that I have for people who are looking to build their careers, who are looking for jobs in Zimbabwe, how to go about it. Again, I have to stress that I am also hunting for different opportunities. So this is what has worked for me in the past. This is what I know has worked for other people, but this is also just my perspective. Take it, don't take it, that is up to you, but this is the advice that I have for you. The first thing that I would mention is it's just so important to involve God in that whole process, because as I was saying, there are some very toxic work environments nowadays. The worst is when you get into a work environment where it now affects you, your mental health is in shambles. The people you work with are literally just not, partial towards you. Because I, for one, can tell you I've been in a job where I know God had not sent me to that job. I know I was not supposed to be there, but out of not fully trusting, out of I just want to ensure that I have something going for myself right now, I'm just gonna do it anyways, and how it ends up is not always great. The word of God says that the steps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord. So when you know that you've prayed about it, you also know that your steps are going to be ordered by God. And the second thing I would really say is establish and to know for sure what you want. Not only the kind of job that you want, but what are your priorities in different seasons. I was at a time where, for me, what was more important was I want to make money so that I'm able to fund for this. So I'm raising money for this. So I'm not necessarily looking for a legal job. I am looking for something that's going to generate income so that I achieve this in my life, right? And you can also be in a different season. For you, what might be more important is I need to build the necessary foundations that I need to end up there. So the monetary aspect is not as important. What's important is getting the experience. Understand what your circumstances are. For some people, you're in a family where some things are not as necessary. For example, for me, I am thankful that I'm living in my parents' home. I don't have rentals, everything else would really just be me trying to go the extra mile. But when it comes to my current responsibilities, I know that I am my sole responsibility, and there's nothing else. But circumstances differ. For you, you might have moved cities and you are now living on your own. So you also need to consider that, hey, I'm responsible for my rent. And for some people, they have black tax, right? They have to ensure that their family is taken care of. And then beyond understanding what your circumstances are, you also now need to understand, fine, what do I want in a job, right? For some people, in the job itself, they are willing to suffer. There are people who are willing to suffer day and night. They don't care about their mental health as long as they have money in the bank. But maybe for you, your mental health is more important. So you're willing to maybe go for a job that's going to offer a bit less so that you have your mental health in check. For others, it's time. When you're going to be applying for a specific job, you're like, okay, I need to work within a specific time, and if they're going to require any more time from me, then that is unacceptable because I want to be able to dedicate my time to something else. So those are all considerations to make. The third thing I would say is very important is to actually utilize LinkedIn. My goodness, I don't understand how you can be looking for a job and you're not on LinkedIn. And even if you do have a job, please, I always tell people this, have a LinkedIn account, share what you are doing in your career journey. It really, really does help. Okay, I would recommend that you guys follow. Her name is Nicole Nyasha, and her YouTube is A Millennial Girl's Diary. She talks about career and how to build a good LinkedIn profile. She even shares on different interview tips and stuff like that. So you can follow her. She's based in Canada, but most of the things that she shares are very applicable to the Zimbabwean context. The fourth tip that I have is you need to be able to communicate and network. People around you need to know. That way they can recommend different opportunities to you as well. Maybe somebody who's going to watch this video is going to be like, this girl is looking for an amazing opportunity. A wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Now, the fifth point that I have is do not limit yourself. And limitation of self can be in different ways. The first that I have experienced is imposter syndrome. The worst thing you could do is not believing in yourself. And the worst thing you could do is not try. You know, you miss every shot that you don't take. So shoot your shot. When you read job requirement, this, and you realize, no, but I only meet 3 out of 5 requirements there. You never know. Just apply. Shoot your shot. Apply for the jobs, because you cannot say I want to build my career, I'm looking for a job, but dololo applications. When you see the advertisement, apply, please apply. Again, obviously your circumstances are different, but don't limit yourself to where you are, especially in this current age. We are deep within the 4th industrial revolution. A lot of things are digitalized now. A lot of things are online. People have virtual positions. There are people who are working in America, people who are working in the UK, people who are working in Australia, while they are in Zimbabwe. And guess what? They are getting paid for those positions. So just be open-minded. Don't limit yourself. If you have the resources to look to applying elsewhere, if you have Wi-Fi, if you are watching this video, you are who I'm talking to, because in order for you to be able to watch a YouTube video, you are going to need data, you're going to need Wi-Fi, you're going to need all those things. So if you're watching this, it means that you shouldn't be limiting yourself to the geographical area that you're at. This is a big one, a very big one. Let me say we, because I could be included as well. We want to limit ourselves to what we studied. I say, because I am a lawyer, I got a law degree, because I know about intel. That's all I am going to do. So you have blinkers around you and you're like, that is it. That's all I'm going to be looking into. Explore the different skills that you have. You would be surprised how you can utilize the other skills that you have to actually create an income, to actually serve different institutions. Because most times you will realize that some opportunities will come when you are already doing something else. The next point that I have is consider voluntary opportunities. I remember when I started, as I said, my first internship was actually voluntary. I wasn't getting paid. And now I'm back in a situation where the things I'm doing involve volunteering. In as much as I'm doing other things that hopefully will be giving me an income and stuff like that, I'm not getting paid for what I am doing. Consider that, especially if your circumstances allow. Because at times, trading your service in order to gain some experience, it helps to build your CV. It helps to give you the experience that you require. It helps you understand what you want and what you don't want, what you're looking forward to in a job, in a career, and what you don't want. So if you are able to, give your services for free. The next point that I have is utilize different avenues. Looking for a job, guys, and trying to build your career. You can find a job on LinkedIn, as I said. There is Classifieds, ZW, Zimbabwe. There is Twitter. There are some Twitter accounts that are literally dedicated to sharing about job opportunities. There are newspapers. I know a lot of people don't buy newspapers nowadays, but different WhatsApp groups, they share job opportunities. Be on the lookout. People's stories. I told you one of the jobs that I got was from responding to someone's story. They shared it on their status and I got a job from that. And the next thing that I want to talk about is don't be afraid to be self-employed. Be very unapologetic about your hustle, okay? Because most times, we get educated and then now we're waiting for people to hand us with opportunities. We now need to start creating opportunities for ourselves and hopefully be able to create opportunities for other people. So that is it from me when it comes to this subject of building your career and job hunting in Zimbabwe.